What if the GOP, in trying to eliminate hunger, decided that it'd be far easier to eliminate the hungry instead? I want to talk to you about SNAP and a possible future. Dystopian, of course. And that is that when we're talking about SNAP, that's the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, what used to be called food stamps. It's for millions of children. It's for millions of disabled. It's for millions of elderly who do not have enough food to eat. And the Republicans recently reduced that amount to be able to pay for the tax cuts, not for us, but for the ultra wealthy. Oh, you gotta figure out a way to pay for it somehow. And the concern here is that then the shutdown happened, and Trump was essentially using people in need as hostages, as bargaining chips. That's real Christian. That's real religious. In fact, he referred to himself as the chosen one, and without any pushback from the religious right, which indicates to me that they accepted that. Silence implies consent. So it seemed appropriate to make a biblical reference. How Jesus, apparently, not that I'm religious, but it's just because we're talking about the chosen one, might as well make a religious reference, is that fed 5,000 hungry people on the Sea of Galilee, near the Sea of Galilee. This is not the Galilee, but anyway, you get the reference. 5,000 people with 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread. Now, to Republicans, that would be noteworthy. First of all, it would be noteworthy is because it was all for free. And how capitalistic is that? Giving away free food? Unless, of course, it was a loss leader designed to get people to vote for a political party. But, you know, I think the GOP, if they were alive back then, would probably see it as an opportunity. For example, is that there's low overhead. There's only 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread. And just think of the profit potential for that, for the job creators, you know, the corporations, corporate control of fish and bread. And so as a result, you know, the GOP would probably want to be able to get at least some money from the poor. And they would think that, well, you know, if we just charge 3 cents a loaf or a fish, it's not much, but at 5 times 5,000, that might be pretty significant. So the GOP, you know, they claim to be pro-life, but somehow after a child is born, they're nowhere to be found. One would think that if they were really pro-life, they'd really care about children that were starving, about the elderly, and about the disabled. So this pro-life thing is just really a smokescreen that they're blowing up people's asses, and apparently people are buying it. But you know, this government program of assistance to millions of people has been cut recently, not only by the new law, but by a Republican-controlled Senate and Congress that are controlled by the president, of course. But there's this concern that, well, we just want to get rid of dependency, government dependency, and people should work, you know, as if that's really what's going on, is people are freeloading and using food stamps and not working, sitting on their couch. You know, what Republican who has advocated for slashing food for the hungry and for children has ever met somebody, has ever known somebody? But they're in that palace in Washington, D.C., far away. Let them eat cake. So perhaps, in this dystopian future, maybe they might be successful in a new approach. And that is that first get children to work. We can either have dependence or we can get rid of the dependence. And so we'll put children to work. At least by 5 years old, have them working in factories. That worked decades ago. Why not bring it back? And that's a traditional family value, 5-year-olds working in factories. For 12-hour days, of course, and no vacation. Because that's not consistent with what the job creators would really want. And what happens if you're not able to work? Let's say if you're disabled or elderly. Well, the thing is, of course, you have some options. The first option, of course, is to sell your organs. That would be capitalistic, free economy, free market. Secondly, is that you could, if you don't want to sell any of your organs, there's not really that many that you really can opt out of, is that you could opt for the Going Home Early program. That's the GOP program of dealing with the elderly, dealing with the homeless. Because Fox News, I did a video about this, Fox News actually argued for the involuntary euthanasia of the homeless people. Yes, there was a host on Fox News that actually advocated for this. Somehow he still has his job. Let's see, we want to cancel ABC for Jimmy Kimmel making jokes about Trump, but we're going to allow a Fox News host to advocate for the involuntary killing of homeless people. That's where we are. And it still continues. So that's actually probably the other route that Fox News would suggest when it deals with welfare, is that if you can't work, then you should sell your organs. And if you don't sell your organs, if you don't want to do that, then go to the Going Home program. It's where the GOP gives you a final supper, a religious reference there. And then you're turned into crackers. But what might happen on the process of before you're turned into crackers, your organs will be harvested, and then you'll be turned into crackers. So that's probably where it's headed, if I were to be a betting man, and based on the history that we've seen. Next time a Republican talks about how they're pro-life, just remember how they're not, and how they've essentially used people with that tagline and traditional family values. Because, if we're talking about Jesus, in fact that Trump calls himself the chosen one, I really don't think that Jesus, I didn't read anywhere in the Bible, decades ago when I read the Bible, was that Jesus bragged about grabbing the genitals of women. Somehow I missed that one. But the Republican Party has embraced him. And if they don't, they've remained silent. So that's just as much like embracing, because silence implies consent. So what I would suggest that you do is that if you live in a red state and you have a Republican who's a congressman or a senator, call them, tell them exactly how you feel, and about how wrong this is, and about how they need to recognize that there is a balance of powers of three co-equal branches. That's the executive, the presidency, the legislature, the Congress, and the United States Senate, and the judiciary. They're all three co-equal. One is not about the other. But that's not what we got right now. We got an authoritarian in the White House. So tell your congressman and your senator that that's wrong, because it is. So that's the way it is. That's the way of one possible future, and just a way the GOP improves society, one final solution at a time. Until next time.